Like, sure enough. Who's the baddest, meanest, sure enough? Especially with the rope on. Anyway, hey guys, welcome back to the Style and Beauty Doctor on YouTube. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a review of the new Anastasia Luminous Foundation and the new Anastasia Loose Setting Powders. So sit back, relax, and here we go. Because of timing, my schedule, yada yada, rather than do a first impressions and wear test, this is going to be a review. And I'm going to, put in some clips where you can see me putting the foundation on, putting the powder on, and then we'll get like an end of day little quip from me on how it wore. So, what you need to know first about this Anastasia Luminous Foundation, it's available now, so you can get it anywhere Anastasia is sold, online, in store. What it is, it's a water-resistant liquid foundation that creates a luminous natural finish and is long-wearing even without setting powder. Coverage is medium, finish is natural, formulation is liquid. It is for normal, dry, combo, and oily skins. And it comes in 50 shades, blurs in any imperfection, including discoloration and unevenness, without caking or masking the skin's natural radiance. The easy-to-blend formula goes on seamlessly and leaves the skin with a perfected-looking complexion, free of flashback or oxidation. Okay, so going in, there are 50 shades. I think that this is a foundation. Now, while I'm not going to say it's difficult to find a shade, I will say that you have to approach finding your shade maybe a little bit differently than you might have with other launches. At least that's what happened with me. Now, I am someone who, I'm really good at picking up my foundation shade. I know my undertones. I've, been reviewing foundations for years. I had a previous career as a short stint as a makeup artist. But I found that because of the way that the undertones are described on the Sephora site, I did find it a little bit difficult. And it was a little confusing because a lot of the deeper shades have W next to them. I did find, to me, obviously W means warm. I did find that trying to find my shade just from the undertone descriptions was a little bit difficult. What actually worked for me was actually opening the foundations and trying them out and seeing which one worked. Now, out of the shades that I was sent in PR, 510W was the closest shade. When I was initially trying out the foundation, I felt that 540W was the closest match, although it was red. I have neutral undertones. Sometimes I could take a little bit of red. The 540W didn't look terrible, but it's just that the 510W looked better. I didn't even think 510 would have been an option because I kind of zeroed in on, around what shades would have been closer to mine, and I didn't think something so high, well, not high up, but higher up would be my match. So, and that's another thing to note too, as the numbers change, it doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a jump in color. It may just denote the undertone. I wouldn't say that their shade range is off or it's difficult. I would just say that it's different from what you might be used to. Like for instance, almost every brand, if I go for a shade that somehow says deep skin with neutral undertones, usually that's my shade. The 510W is actually described as deep skin with a warm undertone. I don't consider myself to have a warm undertone, but once I highlighted and contoured, 510W wound up being, a good balanced match. I would say that like when I was putting the foundation on, it felt a little greasy. Anastasia has a brush. This is the number A30 brush. It's kind of like a buffing brush. The bristles are densely packed. It has a little bit of a dome shape to it. This is the brush that came out with a collection. I didn't like it to put the foundation on because I felt like it applied too much product. So I just, used the Beauty Blender instead to apply the foundation, which, that wound up being fine. Although the foundation felt greasy going on, I didn't feel greasy throughout the day. And when I wore this out, all of a sudden it got really humid out of nowhere. And the day that I wore this, it was super humid and the foundation didn't feel greasy on, so that was good. Let's do some swatches. They did send a couple of the shades in the 500 range in the PR package, so let's go through a couple of them. 30, and I would have thought 530N would have been my shade, just because the N, I would assume means neutral, but it was not a match. The undertones were off for me. You see what I mean here? Like this shade, 530N, looks lighter than 510 and 520. So not necessarily that when the numbers go up, the shade goes up too. It's just, you know, the change in undertone. 510W, 520W, 530N, 540W, and 560W. Now, and then also if you go, like, I don't know, you tell me in the comments if you find this to be true for you too. Now that brands are showing like people wearing the shade, I feel like that doesn't help me at all in figuring out shade. I think what helps for me is the undertone description. You tell me. But I found it even a little bit more, I don't want to say difficult, but maybe not as easy, which means difficult. But I did find that because they have the before and afters on the Anastasia site as well as on Sephora.com, where you can see what the person's skin looked like before the foundation and what the, well, actually if you look at it from left to right, it's what the foundation looks like on the skin and then what their face looks like without the foundation. That doesn't, to me, it's kind of difficult to see. You can see how the foundation improved the person's skin. You're not necessarily using that as a way to be able to figure out what shade is your shade match, because a lot of the models that they use have discoloration on their skin. You're not going to match your foundation to the discoloration. You're going to try to find some sort of color, whether it be the neck or the chest, so that there's some sort of balance. Make sure you check out my Are You Wearing the Wrong Foundation series. 1 and 2. 1 goes into undertone and shade match and, you know, so on and so forth, how to figure that out and how that can be a little bit involved with skin of color. And then part 2 is about finish and a formula. So make sure you check those out because that really goes into depth on how to pick out your foundation shade. Okay, so now let's talk about the powders. So the powder is described as a lightweight, superfine powder formula that goes on smoothly as it absorbs oil, minimizes shine, and leaves you with a flawless matte finish. What else you need to know? It's vegan, cruelty-free, and gluten-free. Perfect. Brighten and set makeup in place with the ABH Loose Setting Powder, available in 4 natural tone shades and 1 universal translucent shade. This silky formula gives the complexion a seamless, soft focus effect while blurring the look of imperfections and extending the wear of your makeup. I focused on deep peach and golden orange here. I was not entertaining banana because I don't like to use super light powders to brighten underneath my eye. If that is your thing, then more power to you, but not for me. Alright, so I actually like the powders. I like the way that they looked on my skin. I do wish that maybe Anastasia, and you'll see this in, I'll show you like my end of the day wear thoughts and whatnot. As a matter of fact, I might have 2 end of the day wear thoughts because we'll talk about that. But I do wish that Anastasia would come out with a blotting powder, you know, something that's pressed that you can keep in your bag, because I really like the finish of this and I would love to touch up my face throughout the day with something that looks like this, but I'm not going to carry this around. Like, 1, you know, it's big. 2, you know, let me not put my clumsiness on y'all. I could wind up opening this and spilling it everywhere if I was to transport it around. So I would love to see Anastasia come out with a blotting powder or maybe a pressed version of this that, you know, you can take around and touch up throughout the day. If you have drier skin and you're using this foundation, I would probably, not even if you're just using this foundation, but just dry skin in general. And I'm trying to do a better job of being cognizant about calling out attributes that are not mine. So for instance, like if I'm doing eye makeup, I want to call out other eye shapes and, you know, tweaks that you can do. And I have oily skin, but I want to also call out tweaks for like dry skin. So I'm trying to be more conscious of that. It's not always going to happen all the time because of the way my brain works, but I'm trying, you know? So when it comes to dry skin with setting powders, sometimes you may want to just set in the T-zone or maybe see how the foundation works without using setting powder at all. And this is if you have dry skin. Because what happens is, with dry skin, some powders kind of highlight things that you don't want highlighted. So either, you know, you go for a powder that has a formula that's specifically made for dry skin, or you just, you know, go without it, or just put it a light dusting, or just put it in your T-zone. And that's what I would probably do with this one, although this one has like a nice blurring effect, but you don't want to go overboard with the powder if you have drier skin. I actually liked the golden orange as an all-over setting powder. I like shades like this because not only do they set, but when they have like a little bit of color to them, especially a color like this, it does also help to brighten. This is I believe this golden orange is the deepest color that they have, but I can still see this working on skin tones that are deeper than mine. Just don't go too ham with it, you know? Now, this deep peach, I use this to set underneath my eye. I'm not a huge fan of the color. It wasn't bad, you know, it wasn't like, oh my god, let me take this makeup off, but I prefer something that's has a little bit more golden tones to it. I also, and this is why I might have 2 wear test outros in this video, is that, well, I don't bake as much as I used to because I just kind of feel like as I'm getting older, I don't want a whole bunch of powder sitting on my skin. Even though I have oily skin, I don't want a whole bunch of like powder just sitting there. So I don't bake, and I don't remember using a lot of this powder to set underneath my eyes. But what happened was at the end of the day, the rest of my face kind of like, you know, oil breakthrough. There was, you know, well, the product didn't break down, but you know, you could see that it was worn in. Now, obviously, underneath the eye doesn't have any pores. Underneath the eye, it tends to be drier than the rest of your face. So it made sense that the powder was just kind of like sitting there, and then the rest of the face, you know, was glistening. But I don't have that happen with the powder that I usually use under my eye, and it's a Dior Forever Compact that I use in shade 60 that I usually use to set my highlight, and that's a pressed powder. So it's possible that maybe I did apply too much product. You'll see in the first wear test. But today when I put it on, I made sure to kind of tap the excess product off the brush so that I only have like a light dusting. So we'll see how that holds up. But I didn't like that look because, you know, my under eye area, I don't have a lot of fine lines. There are some fine lines underneath there. I don't want to be like set here and then everywhere else is just like, you know, regular. So that's one thing I didn't love about that. All right, here we are, end of the day. It was super humid outside, like more humid than usual. I'm not mad at what we're looking like here. I like the shine, it's a controlled shine. What I don't like is the powder here. Now, I didn't bake. As a matter of fact, I stopped baking maybe about a year ago. And if you're unaware, baking is basically where you leave the powder to set so that it gives like a nice smooth finish underneath the eyes. It looks really good. Depending on the type of look you're going for. But because, you know, this kind of thing would happen, I stopped baking because I didn't want this. Now, I use the same Anastasia powder to set all over my face as I did underneath the eyes. Albeit I did use a big fluffy brush, so there's probably less product on the whole of my face than there is here, where I used a more smaller, more concentrated, densely packed bristled brush underneath the eyes. I would be very careful. If I were to use this powder again to set underneath my eyes, I'd be very careful to use a very small amount, or I would use a fluffier, you know, smaller so that it can get in the area, but fluffier, where the bristles aren't as densely packed as the NARS brush I usually use underneath here, just to make sure that I don't put as much of the powder underneath my eyes. I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it. But the foundation doesn't look bad. And it didn't get even, you know, warmer or anything like that on me. So we're still looking good color-wise, even though, you know, going on, I was like, it looks a little red. But we're looking good. We are looking good. Yeah, we still got the powder doing the thing me don't like. So I would have to say that while the foundation, you know, it holds up very well throughout the day, it worked on my oily skin, I wouldn't say that it's a holy grail foundation for me, and I wouldn't even say that it's something that I would reach for. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to box these up and give them to my neighbors. Now, the powder I did enjoy. I love the soft, matte, blurring kind of effect that the powder gives. I do wish that I could carry that look on with me throughout the day without having to, you know, carry the whole powder with me. So hopefully ABH come out with blotting powders or pressed powders, because I really like the blurring effect and the soft matte effect of this powder. Again, I didn't love the brush, but for some people, the brush might be something that, you know, you might enjoy if you don't already have something similar in your stash. But I think that, you know, if you have a considerable amount of makeup tools, something in your toolkit is going to help you apply this foundation. Like I said, I applied mine with the Beauty Blender and it was just fine. So let me know in the comments. Let's get all chitty-chatty. You know how we like to do. Let me know, would you try this new ABH foundation? Would you try the powders? Have you tried either one already? Let me know all about that in the comments. You guys have been really awesome in the comments. Like, I am loving the energy that I get back. It makes me, you know, it keeps me a little motivated. I'm like, okay, let me try the foundation for the girls and the guys and whoever's watching. So, you know, thanks for that. Love the energy. Make sure you follow me on social. Make sure you subscribe to my blog, because there's content that, yeah, I like to spread the content love. So the blog will have one set of content, the YouTube will have one set of content, the Instagram, the Twitter, you know? So make sure you follow me everywhere, and I will see you fine folks in my next video. Bye, guys.